Hey everybody, Travis Kern here from Root and Branch Chinese Medicine Pharmacy and Clinic in Portland's Multnomah Village. On the way into the shop today, chatting with you guys as usual. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about yesterday's Chinese Lunar New Year. So yesterday was February the 5th, 2019, which marks the first day of the new year using the Chinese lunar calendar. This year, 2019, and I guess the first month of 2020 will be a year of the pig, year of the earth pig specifically, and even more specifically, the yin earth pig. And you know, it's fun. Google had like a little Google thing, a little animation that showed the pig. I had some friends over. We had a big celebration of pork. I don't know, maybe a little weird to eat the animal for whom the year is, but anyhow, I wanted to talk a little bit about why the Chinese lunar calendar might matter to you, potentially non-Chinese Western person, and you know, how we can actually get beyond what seems like these sort of quirky, cute, childlike animal images that are associated with the Chinese zodiac. So firstly, let's talk about lunar calendar versus solar calendar. The terms are relatively self-explanatory. We're going to track the movements of the moon as our counting item versus the movements of the sun as our counting item. In reality, the Chinese calendar is a lunar and solar calendar combined. We track the months by the lunar movements, but the sun is not discounted in the process, right? Significantly, the Chinese have oriented their calendar toward the beginning of spring as the first part of the year, right? Because in the Chinese calendar understanding, spring, summer, fall, winter, okay, spring is the beginning. It's the new beginning. And we have this in the West as well. I mean, all of our traditions around Easter and Easter rabbits and Easter baskets and finding eggs and all this stuff is rooted in a very, very old, right, millennia old sense that when spring comes, life returns, right? So why not begin the year with spring? So of course, as you can see, I'm bundled up. It's 25 degrees in Portland right now, and spring began on Monday, on the 4th, the day before the new year. And you might be thinking like, well, it certainly doesn't feel like spring. And that's true. The thing about the seasons is that in the Chinese calendar, we're going to get approximately 3 moons per season. This year, there'll be 4 moons in the fall, but 3 moons per season, so that's about 3 months. And it's not until the end of that season, usually about 2.5 moons to the 3rd moon, before the seasons, what we would consider the season, the temperature, the air, the activity on the ground, really starts to feel like that season. Okay, so right now, spring begins, but what that means is the very tiniest little seed of spring energy, that upward movement, that sense of growth, is just beginning now, right? So we got some time. It's got to do its thing. So the Chinese begin the calendar with a new moon. That's when there's no moon in the sky, right? You can't see it. I mean, it's obviously there, but you can't see it. And then we build upwards toward the full moon, right? And then the cycle is like a little sine wave, and it comes down, a descent to a new moon, and then, you know, back up again toward the full moon, and it's, you know, making this motion, okay? Because everything about the Chinese cosmological understanding deals with rhythm and order and balance, right? So for example, if you are a planter, if you're a gardener, you want to plant your plants around the new moon, right? The new moon and the next couple of days after, because you want to catch this upswing of energy. In Chinese medicine, that new moon is dark and black. It's yin, right? It's got this sort of, you know, substantive energy, whereas the full moon is yang, which is the active, moving component of energy. And so you want to catch the flow toward the yang. So you want to put your seeds in the ground with the new moon, and then catch the flow upward toward the yang. And you can do that all during the year. It doesn't matter what you're planting, right? You want to sort of catch that rhythm. And the most potent of that energy is going to come in that 2nd to 3rd moon of the spring season for planting, and then growing into summer, which is a very potent yang season, right? So if you imagine why the calendar matters to you, the reason is because you can actually balance or make decisions about things that you're going to do based on where you are in the season. And you're thinking to yourself, well, yeah, that's cute, but like what the weather is doesn't affect me. Look, just table that idea, okay? Just stop. you know that the weather affects you. Everybody does. They just only realize it in the most epic way, right? So like, oh, in the summer I like to go outside and go swimming because it's warm, and in the winter I just want to sit home with a book because it's cold and rainy, right? Okay, the season, the weather, the climate, the cosmos affects you, okay? It does. And though it may not seem like it's always as acute in a time like now, where you're in this transitional period, okay? The reality is, what's happening with the cosmic bodies out there affects you, affects me, affects all of us. And I don't mean to say that like you need to go start reading your Chinese horoscope. That's a different question. How the astrology and the specific calculations affect you, time of birth, etc., etc. I think there's a lot of cool stuff in there. But if that's not your jam, just put that aside for now and understand that the Chinese New Year marks a time for us to start paying attention again as Westerners, because we don't have the cultural training for this, to start looking at where we are in a season. So at my shop at Root and Branch, we created a calendar this year that marks all the moons, all the seasons, and within each season, there's something that we call a Qi node, N-O-D-E, or a little marker that shows us how the Qi, right, the sort of animating force of any given season is changing over time, right? So you have spring begins as the first Qi node, and then you have Chinese New Year. And then you have insects awaken about 15 days later, right? And then they progress like that. Every 15 days-ish, you end up with a new node, and that node represents a change in the flow of the Qi for that season. And what's helpful about that is that you can begin to understand how the Qi is affecting you. So if you wanted to make some big changes, open a new business, buy a house, start a new job, something pretty big, doing it now at the mark of spring is great. It's ideal. You're catching the right rhythm, okay? But doing what most of us do and coming back from the New Year in January, which is in the deepest, darkest part of winter, the fullest, coldest in part of winter, and in, has this sense of like, oh, just bundle up and stay warm and pull into yourself. That's when everyone decides to go back to the gym, right? Oh, hot damn, New Year resolution, gonna go to that gym, busting it out on the elliptical. Oh yeah, working it hard. And then 7 days later, you stop going. And you signed a year membership. Gyms love New Year's resolutions. They're gonna take your money all year long, and you couldn't do it. And then of course you like beat yourself up about it. Like, oh, I didn't have the willpower. Oh, if only I was stronger. My friend goes, they're just the best, and I just stop eating these brownies, and, Look, yeah, okay, making life changes requires some force and some willpower and some headspace or whatever, but you set yourself up for a failure. You did, right? You picked the wrong time of the year to try and make that transition. You came off the back of a holiday where you've been sitting on your ass, eating all kinds of sweet food and sugar and hanging out with friends, and then stressed out with your family and all that stuff. And then you were like, okay, on the heels of this super uncommon season, I'm gonna try and make some dramatic changes. Nah, don't do it then, right? Don't do it then. Wait for a better time. In fact, you can wait basically a month where you've got a little bit of space away from the holiday. Chinese New Year comes, you can have another final celebration, right? Where you're like having delicious food, and then you can make your transition. I would also recommend, however, that you not try to do this austere, like, I'm not gonna eat, but one meal a day, and I'm gonna go to the gym 6 days a week, and I'm gonna like wreck myself. Let's be real. You're not going to succeed at that. You're not. Maybe you're gonna do it for like 5 days, 10 days if you're lucky. You're not gonna succeed at a lifetime transition of becoming like a self-flagellating monk, right? You're just not gonna do that. That's crazy. Why would you set that as your goal? Instead of doing that, pick things that work in harmony and balance with yourself and what's around, right? Feeling like you need to lose some weight? Who doesn't need to lose some weight, right? Organize some slow habits over the course of the year. I'm gonna only eat until I'm 70% full, right? I'm gonna try and eat fruits and vegetables and meats that are in season. Don't know where those are? Don't worry about it. Go to your farmer's market, Google it, Even a halfway decent grocery store these days carries more seasonal items than they ever did before. Okay, there's ways for you to find out what's in season now. Buy those things, don't buy other things, right? So like, don't buy tomatoes in December. They're not in season unless you live in an equatorial part of the country, right? Of the world. If you don't live in the equatorials, right there where it's hot pretty much all the time, don't buy tomatoes in January. That's not when tomatoes grow. You can buy them, but they're not the ones you need, okay? Seasonal changes, eating less food. Try that for the whole year. Go for a walk 3 times a week. 3 times a week, drink lots of water, eat 70% of what you've been eating. It doesn't matter what you're eating, just eat 70% of it, and then try and pick fruits and vegetables that are in season, right? How easy does that sound? And yet, it will still be a challenge because you haven't been doing it. It's a habit change, right? But the best time to change habits is at the beginning of the new year. The real new year, the spring new year, not the one that's right dead in the middle of the cold, okay? Cut yourself some slack, dive into yourself, pay attention to what's going on with you, what's going on with your body, what's going on around you, all right? Your body, your mind, your spirit, yourself, however you want to categorize your sense of being, will inform you of the things that you need. And sometimes you need some Haagen-Dazs, right? It's true. Sometimes you need Haagen-Dazs. And sometimes you need to eat more damn vegetables. And if you only eat Haagen-Dazs and you don't eat vegetables, you're gonna feel like shit. And that's just the reality of that too, all right? And if you only ever eat vegetables, torturing yourself about going to the gym more, you're also gonna end up without a sense of self-satisfaction sometimes, right? Treat yourself a little bit, be kind to yourself, be gentle to yourself, tap into the season and maximize it for you, right? This is Travis Kern from Root and Branch Chinese Medicine in Portland, Oregon. You can reach us at www.rootandbranchpdx.com to read more about the seasons, hear more about our shop, buy some really badass tea that my business partner Travis Cunningham puts together. Come give us a visit, and we'll see you next time.